The town of Barrow, Alaska is saying goodbye to the sun as their month-long period of darkness is set to begin. They're also saying goodbye to each other as most of the citizens leave, unwilling to put up with a month of nighttime. This leaves only about a fourth of the townspeople to take care of city business. One person staying behind is Sheriff McLawdog here, who is currently breaking up with his special lady. She does not make it out of town in time before the airport shuts down. I bet if I wonder what Josh Hartnett's been up to lately, it'll turn out that he's been on some cable series I've never even considered watching for the last 10 years. Oh, yeah, Penny Dreadful, there it is. I'm glad he's working, or was working. Anyway, while the town prepares, we see a dude who has clearly come from that rickety-ass pirate ship back there. He heads towards town, and that's when things start to get weird. The first bit of business in this movie as a result? A bunch of brutal dog murders. Thanks, movie! Also, the police find a pile of burned cell and satellite phones. Later, they discover that the local helicopter has been destroyed. Soon after, the weather service, or local ISP, or whatever this dude is in charge of, gets knocked out, and then wham! Vampires. Vampires. The dude who came to town turns out to be Ben Foster, who is the weirdest vampire hype man, mostly because he's being Ben Foster.
Shut up.
Ignore him, Jake.
You can feel it. That cold ain't the weather. That's death approaching.
The squad of vampires, and there are a lot of vampires, so many in fact that as vampires get dispatched throughout the film, it doesn't seem to diminish their numbers, are led by Danny Huston, who played Major Stryker in one of the standalone Wolverine movies. And while he's no stranger to playing villains, I'm not sure he's the right choice as the villain of these old-timey looking bunch of Quaker vampires. Quampires. The initial wave of rampaging vampires makes the movie feel a lot like Gremlins, as the sleepy little wintry town is getting decimated by monsters. After it settles in on a handful of survivors, it takes on a Night of the Living Dead vibe, except taking place over the course of a month. Hence the title. The timeline ends up being the film's main flaws. It feels like it's cutting corners on things we probably should be seeing. But then again, it also seems like 8 days will pass and the characters are all in the same location, in the same positions, having not done a single thing in all that time. The film skips over huge chunks of the month, and it would have been more effective, I think, had it focused on at least something, anything, each day. It seems super obvious during one of the opening scenes as to how the vampires are going to get dispatched, because when you see the thing you're like, oh okay, I've seen a movie. But there's a decent swerve with that as they only use the big metal grinder to take out one of the many secondary vampires. Instead, the movie has some goddamn balls to go where it ends up going, despite the final blow that kills the head vampire being a head-scratching special effect. I can only imagine the high-fiving that was going on when the idea for the comic that eventually became this movie came to be. It's such a simple idea, and hundreds of writers had to have been kicking themselves for not coming up with it. Hell, I'm mad at myself for not thinking of it. If you buy into the premise, you'll be completely fine with this film. 30 Days of Night is impressive despite its flaws. I didn't think so highly of it when it first came out, but I think time has been kind to it. Sure, there's a bunch of questionable CG and some serious overusage of the shaky cam bullshit, but there's some powerful imagery here as well. Plus, it's great to watch when it's 120 degrees outside like it is here now. Maybe I need to move to Barrow. It seems like there'd be a bunch of job openings.